while your day is winding down. They're just getting started. This is South Coast Tonight with Chris McCarthy and Marcus Farrow. They've got you covered on all the news of the day, from local issues to politics on both sides of the aisle. This is the place where the movers and shakers come to be heard, to listen, and where they're held accountable. This is South Coast Tonight on WBSM.
Welcome to South Coast Tonight. I'm Marcus. Chris will be back tomorrow. I believe we've got a guest tomorrow from the member of our state delegation, and that'll be fun. We're looking forward to it. But tonight I'll be joined by you at 508-996-0500. Open phone lines. Got nobody on the books. Just me and you tonight talking about the things that matter. And of course, we have to lead in with the conversation we had with Sheriff Hodgson last night. And I keep saying this, but this is one of the things that I really like about our program is that it allows us time after all the at the end of the day to have long form conversations with the people that are making decisions or the people that want to make the decisions. And you can access, you can call them directly and ask questions. And there were a lot of people that called in and asked questions of the sheriff. I'll probably play a couple clips of the interview. It's 2 hours. It was 2 hours, so it was very, it was dense. It was a robust interview for sure. And in terms of I didn't count. Maybe I will next time. Maybe I will after. I didn't count the amount of supporters versus detractors that called him, but it seemed like it was pretty even. There were people that called in and said, thank you for your service. I'm going to vote for you. Some people said, you're running, your jail's out of control. It's one of them. And accused him of treating the inmates inhumanely. So some serious charges, also some laudatory comments for the sheriff in the calls. And he, I think he addressed them the same way he addresses, everything, very sternly but politely. I'm thinking about, the good thing is we're able to do this, and we got so many calls that came through. I think, I've been thinking about it, and I hate to be too rigid or maybe rigid. I'm trying to think of the word. But what I'm thinking about is, for Mayor Heroux's, we have Mayor Heroux in on Monday, his Democratic challenger, Paul Heroux, his Democratic challenger. He's going to be here on Monday, same time, 7 and 9, same format. We're going to ask him questions. He's also going to take your calls. So you'll be able to talk to him directly if you want. But I'm thinking, in terms of the calls, I think what I might do is you ask him a question, and then if the lines are full, I may drop you there. I may just drop you there. Some more calls can circle through, and you can take your answer off the air. I might do that. It depends. I'm kind of feeling it out. But, someone had said, oh, you didn't want to take my call. It's not true. I do want to take all the calls. I do want to talk. I do want you to be able to talk to the sheriff and talk to whomever we have here. It's just cycling through all these calls with commercial breaks. And then, with no definitive amount of time between okay, you said something, the sheriff responds, you say something again. I don't know. I don't have rules yet for that yet. So if I drop you, it's not because I don't appreciate your call or because I don't want you to call. I don't want you to say a bad thing about the sheriff, or I don't want you to say a good thing about the sheriff, or I don't want you to say a bad thing about Heroux or a good thing about Heroux. Has nothing to do with that on my end. It's just a matter of logistics, time management, and making sure that, we're not giving, a lot of airtime to one person, not a lot of airtime to another person. I'm trying to be as fair as possible. So I think the calls went well. There's just a few miscues, just going forward. If you want to call in and talk to the candidates, I'd love you. I really want you to do that. We just, when we have the sheriff, and I'm sure when we have Mayor Heroux, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to have a high traffic calls. Don't be offended if you get dropped and you have to take your answer off the air. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate your call. Doesn't mean you didn't ask a good question. You might have asked a great question. Just means I have to cycle through the call volume. So just wanted to address that to make sure no one thought I didn't appreciate their call or their commentary. And yeah, 508-996-0500 is how you can get the program. In fact, while I'm here, I think I'm allowed to make this announcement. Yeah, I'll make it. I think I'm allowed to make this announcement. I spoke with management. It sounds very, what's it called? Kafka-esque management. I spoke with management. But I spoke with, I did speak with management. I spoke to Tim. And Tim spoke to Michael and Mark. But I spoke to management today. Had a couple ideas on how not only should we do debate coverage, but how we should do election night coverage. And both of my ideas got approved. So the first thing is for the sheriff's debate, which is Wednesday, October 19th, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. The first hour is the candidates asking each other questions and us asking the candidates questions. That's the first hour. The second hour is you asking the candidates questions. Either Sheriff Hodgson, either Mayor Heroux, or both. You can ask them questions. And you can message on the app chat too. But I'm going to go through the calls before I go through the app chats. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to get through the call. If the phone lines are full, it might take me a second to get to the app chats. But again, the first hour, Sheriff and Heroux are going to be asking each other questions. Second hour, and we're going to ask them questions as well. Second hour, you're going to ask them questions. You're going to be able to call in. You can call in now at 508-996-0500. That's how you can get on the program tonight. But during those 2 hours, during the entirety of those 2 hours, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., we're going commercial free. We're going commercial free. That's right. We love our commercial partners, our sponsors. They keep the lights on, and we're going to obviously have some sponsorship for that debate. But the way I saw it was, when we're trying to have a conversation here between we're trying to have a conversation, between these two candidates, we want it to be free flowing, right? We kind of want it to, if I have to take, the meaty commercial breaks that we have, and I'm so happy that we've been able to sell this show. I haven't sold the show. They've been able to sell this show. It means, there's a lot of interest in it. That's why we have so many commercials, and it's great. But if I have these big chunks of commercials in between that, it's kind of disrupted a little bit. So it's going to be 1 hour uninterrupted. I was warned too. You know what you're getting into. You're not going to have a break. There's no safety valve for you. There's no safety valve for you if you need one. And I said, let's go for it. I also don't want the awkward silence in the break. I don't know what these two are going to say to each other. It's going to be the first. This might very well be the first time these two candidates are in the same room together, because it's the first debate. So it might very well be the first time these candidates are in the same room together. They've been talking about each other, but not to each other yet. And they've been saying some serious things. It's a campaign. Of course they are. But I think this is a hotly contested race. I think this is something that, it's a very charged race, something that there's a lot of passion on both sides of the aisle on this race. And I think a lot of passion for each candidate. so I don't really want to sit here in a commercial break either. It's going to be awkward. Those two. They say something to each other and I got to sit here, try to make small talk. No, it's not going to happen. Plus, I'll be able to fit more of your calls in. That's what's really important to me is I'm going to be able to fit more of your calls in. And actually fit your calls in now at 508-996-0500. Good evening.
Hey, Marcus, how you doing today?
Hey, Tom, what's up?
Hey, that's tremendous news. No commercials.
I'm really excited about it. Yeah, I'm really.
That's terrific. Good job there.
Thank you.
But last night, I don't think there was anything that hurt the sheriff last night in terms of the phone calls. I know there was a couple of things that I think if they were worded different, we could have got a little more detail out of it. But to me, when it comes to this part of the race, the crunch time part, people that are asking the questions have to know the answers before they ask them.
Yeah. So it's like when you're, an effective question in like a cross-examination is one that the answer doesn't matter because you've already said the question. The jury's already heard what you said. That was the question that you like. When you're drawing your conclusion, it doesn't matter. And I think that's what a lot of callers were going for, which is fine. Honestly, that's fine with me.
Yeah. Sometimes it's knowing the question. Other times it's knowing the answer before you ask the question. And what I found was there was a lot of attempts at haranguing the sheriff, and he was able to answer the questions. Like for the example, the $300,000 audit issue.
Yeah.
If you knew the answer to that, then you could have asked it a different way, or the funding for the wall. And if you knew the answer to that one, you could have had a field day. But the folks coming in and asking those questions, to me, weren't presenting.
Well, I think the point too, and I think this is fine to do. I think it's a totally fine thing to do, is to just say, well, you donated money to fund Donald Trump's wall. I think that's a totally fine thing to do. It's a tactic, but we're going to have people call into Haru on Monday doing the same thing. You're right. I mean, I think there's some people that just wanted to ask him the question to get it out there. Just to get out there that, hey, this happened and you did this and all that, and that's fine. Again, I think that's
stuff
okay.
Like what happened to the money that turned over to this private agency? Who was the agency? Who was the board of directors? And do you support
the Codfather reference? Yeah.
Did you support the pardoning of Steve Bannon?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But
I don't know. The thing is, I thought Steve Bannon was a separate wall fund. Maybe it wasn't. I thought that was like a separate thing. Even if it was, I mean, I think that the problem is sometimes too, and I understand and sympathize with this position, but you're trying to get one over on Sheriff Tom Hodgson, and that's not easy to do. In fact, it's damn near impossible to do. So I think that's often a source of frustration for people.
Yeah, and. But it was good. I don't think there was anything that he responded to that would hurt him. I learned a few things myself. I still have a nonpartisan question that I think I'll ask both candidates during the debate if I'm able to get on. And that
you'll get on.
Can we get funding for these folks before they leave the premises? It's a problem. And, Chris was saying that you need legislation for that. I don't think so. I think there could be some type of collaboration with the welfare department.
I think there's an excellent, maybe you could say that that the state legislature could step in and provide something, but it could also be a matter of directing appropriating the resources that you already have at your disposal. It doesn't necessarily mean, you can't do anything there because you need the state legislature. I didn't agree with that either. I think it's because you have certain line items in your budget, and there's definitely room for discretionary spending. It's just a matter of where that might go.
I mean, when you think about it, somebody leaving there that, and some of them leave there, and they still got bank accounts and all that stuff and families. Others don't. And, to put them on the street without any type of support doesn't even give them a chance to go to a friend's house and say, hey, can I stay on your couch till I get an address established.
Right.
Where if they had money in their pocket, there's flop houses in town, to at least get a roof over their head to establish address so they can plug into the system. The bottom line is, if you're out there and you got no dough and you got no food, you're going to commit a crime again. I mean, just to survive.
Yeah.
It's justifiable in your head to do that. And we can avoid all that. And I'm telling you, I deal with folks on the street quite a bit. And there's been, let's just say the word several folks, that have had that situation happen to them. And it's something that's just not right. There's got to be a better way around that.
I had a guy that went to prison. He'd gotten out of prison. He got out of prison, was there for a long, long time, right? And got out and had committed a crime broke into a car, basically, had committed a crime after. We pull it out to this, so he admitted to it. But had committed this crime, and then it was because this person didn't have it, broke into the car to take it, which is bad. But the person didn't have anywhere to go. They had just gotten out of the hospital. They needed to go somewhere. They couldn't walk. And then a few days later, I see the client taking a nap on the sidewalk in between the walkway from my office to the courthouse. So yeah, and that was state prison. It wasn't Hodgson's prison, but it's still a problem. There's still an issue, and I think that's the crux of Heroux's campaign, is that there needs to be better reentry planning at the sheriff at the House of Correction. And
I would agree with, and I don't use that as a partisan issue, but because it is a lot of work to get some type of programming.
Yeah, of course.
But I think society would benefit no matter who became the sheriff, as long as I could get that done.
I agree.
But anyway, it's a great show. Can't wait for Monday next one.
That's going to be fun. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. That'll be fun. Tonight will be fun too. Give me a call at 508-996-0500. So, yeah, I think that's Hodge. I went back and forth with the sheriff a little bit about recidivism. And it's a term that gets thrown out a lot. It's I learned it when I was, studying criminal justice in college, right? It's one of those things that I say, recidivism rate, recidivism this. And, the sheriff obviously knows what it means. And Chris obviously knows what it means. And Mayor Heroux obviously knows what it means. But that doesn't mean most people do. And you shouldn't. It's not a term that most people use. And so when we talk about recidivism, when that word gets thrown around, I just want to clarify for people, and I'll keep doing it, and you might get annoyed. You're like, Marcus, you already said this, but I know that every time I say it, there's going to be someone else that hasn't heard the term before, that has a general idea of what it means. When someone recidivates, basically, it means that they've reoffended and they've ended up back in prison. Recidivism means that they've reoffended and they've ended up back in prison, or back in the correctional system in general. And I went back and forth with the sheriff about recidivism. There's a study by the Department of Corrections of 2,000 some odd prisoners. 2,000 some odd prisoners in the correctional system, and they could have gone to state, federal, or county jail. The sheriff is correct about that, and it's their last known address is in Bristol County. But Bristol County had the highest rate of recidivism. Franklin County, which is I believe in the Berkshires, had the highest, but they have it's 10 people. So really, Bristol County had the highest rate of recidivism at 40%. And Hodgson's, what Hodgson said was, well, that's because it's their last known address. It doesn't, people could have committed a crime conceivably who had their address in, let's say someone lived in Fairhaven, committed a crime in Plymouth, went to the Plymouth County jail, and then reoffended and ended up in state prison or ended up in Barnstable. That could have happened. I would probably, and what I said to him was, most likely someone who lives in Bristol County and commits a crime there is probably going to end up under your care and control at some point. But it's a fair point to make on his end. I do agree. 508-996-0500. Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
What's up, man?
Did that guy come out and fight with Hodgkinson last night or no?
What guy?
Oh, his rival there, his former prisoner.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that guy. Marco, I think is his name.
Oh, too bad. That's funny when those two go at it.
That was wild, honestly. I was, I've, that was wild. That was like unprecedented. I've never heard that happen, anything like that happen before. A plaintiff in a lawsuit calls the defending party in a class action live, over the airwaves. That was crazy.
That was set up. Somebody had must have informed that guy that Hoggy was going to be on the radio, and I think that was set up.
Could have been, yeah.
But I have another problem. That bus terminal, man, is crazy.
Oh, yeah?
It is really out of control. They need to do something about it.
Yeah.
I had an encounter with a few ladies. It was over a cigarette yesterday, and it wasn't at the bus station, but it continued to the bus station on the bus, and these people are always hanging at the bus station and stuff. And there was just some threats made, and I had to warn the person if they had tried anything that I would have to use self-defense. And I don't know, the drama continued. I went to the courthouse and talked to them about it. They said there's not really much that can be done, just ignore them, stay away from them. But it's that bus station is so small, it's really hard to avoid people. So I'm thinking about an alternative. I know I can take the 9, I can go up the street and wait for the bus up there, except when it gets cold out.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know, I'm just too old for the drama and games, and it's just some of these people really need to get a life. They hang down that bus station all day, and I'm not going to get into what they do and stuff, but they just hang down that bus station all day. It's actually kind of sad, but I mean, you're down there waiting for the bus, and it's like chaotic down there. You shouldn't have to be sitting down there around a chaotic atmosphere. The employees that work there don't do anything about it. The police that are down there that are supposed to be watching it are on their phones, and just something needs to be done. I think
their hands are tied too. I mean, it's if they're not like actively committing a crime, what's the officer going to do? I know they do have officers walking the beat over there.
I told the police officer today, he was all right. I said, if I see these people today I had a problem with, I said, rather than get myself, because they were 3 women, so you really don't want to get yourself in a situation with a woman that can cause a big mess. But I told the officer outright that if somebody attempts to pull a weapon on me, I'm going to pepper spray him. And I made it clear to the cop. I said, I'll let you, if I see you and there's stuff there down there, I will let you know. But he's not going to be down there all the time.
I hope it doesn't come to that. That'd be bad.
No, I don't want it to come to that. But I've been stabbed twice. I'm not getting stabbed.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's terrible.
But I carry pepper spray, and I warned that person. They were reaching for their pocket. I said, you pull that knife out, I'm going to pepper spray you.
Jeez.
And then the drama spread. It happened up at the old Shaw's Plaza, whatever you call it now. And it escalated. They got on the bus. It escalated to the bus station. Now the drama queens are running around the bus station gossiping and all that. It's like kid shit. Grow up.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I think you had the right idea to try to find an alternative route if you're having that much trouble at the terminal downtown.
Yeah, I mean, even the girl that's working there at night, she's young, but she She's out there hanging around with them. You're supposed to be doing your job, and you're out there hanging around with them.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Other people that are listening out here know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to that. But when it comes to that bus station,
yeah,
they need to do something about it. I think Mayor Mitchell's been informed many a times. He's always saying he's going to do something about it. He hasn't done it yet.
You should call him and ask him when he's on with Tim next Wednesday. Actually, he'll be on with us, I think, next week too. But call him when he's on with Tim and ask him.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I know I don't hate homeless people. I've been through this before myself, and it can happen to anybody, and I understand that a lot of them are messed up. You know, it really gets to you being out there, but come on, man. Yeah, I mean, you're talking, I outweighed this girl by 100 pounds. I wouldn't have hit her, but you mean you're gonna pull a knife on me? I'm gonna pepper spray you. I don't care.
Well, listen, I think your best course of action is probably finding another route. If you're having that much problem there, if you're worried about weapons being drawn on you, and I've seen constituent services happen when the mayor is on the air with Tim. He gets called. He addresses it. So I would call next Wednesday. I'd give him a call and bring this up to him.
And as far as the cigarettes go, they're not even supposed to be up there smoking. They're supposed to be.
I get it, man. I get it. It's a big issue over. I get it. It's a big issue. I know. I'm familiar with it as a criminal defense attorney. I'm familiar with things that can happen at the bus station. But yeah, I think that's your best course of action is I think you can talk directly to the mayor next Wednesday. But hey, listen, I got to take this break, man. I appreciate your call.
I told you what I need to tell you.
All right, man.
Have a good night.
You as well. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back. 508-996-0500.
1420 WBSF.
Coast Tonight. I'm Marcus. Chris will be back tomorrow, but and we've got a good guest for you. But I'm joined by you this evening at 508-996-0500. That's how you can get the program's open phone lines throughout the show. So I want to do that announcement that I just made, just in case you're just tuning in, and a lot of people may get home a little later. They might turn on their radio or turn on the app or their phone or Alexa. There's so many ways to enjoy our content. But however you're listening, if you're just listening now, I floated this idea to management at the station. I might have been jumping the gun by making the announcement, but I'm just too excited not to. That the sheriff's debate, because I had Hodgson on. We had Hodgson on last night. You guys, so many phone calls, and I love that you all wanted to call in and talk to our guests, especially the sheriff, and say what you needed to say to him. That's great. That's why we have the show, right? That's why we have the show, and that's wonderful. But I had to manage the commercials, and I'm so happy that we have our great commercial partners. They not only have great products, they help us provide this content to you. But we're going to go with a sponsor on the sheriff's debate. And we're going to go commercial free. We're going commercial free on the sheriff's debate from 7 to 9 on October 19th. October 19th. 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Paul Heroux going to be in studio. Sheriff Tom Hodgson's going to be in studio. They're going to debate. And in the first hour, Chris and I are going to be asking them questions. They're going to be asking each other questions. Now, I know you're thinking, oh, you did that in the Democratic primary and everybody was really nice and played patty cake until the next day when everybody got all mad at each other, off the air. That's not going to happen this time. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you that is not going to happen this time. This is going to be contentious. It's going to be contentious. So they're going to ask each other questions. I'm going to ask them questions. Keep time, all that stuff. And then in the second hour, you're going to be able to call in and ask the sheriff a question, ask Mayor Heroux a question, or ask them both a question. Not 3. You get one crack at it. You get one crack at it. You can ask one, the other, or both a question. So during that time, it's going to be uninterrupted, commercial free. And that's going to allow this conversation to flow a lot better. Now, trust me, like I was warned too. Yeah, that's fine, but you know what you're getting into, not having it a break, not having that escape valve. I like having breaks in my shows. Trust me, I love it. I love that we get sponsors. I love that people sell the show. I love that I get a 5 minutes to just collect, catch a breath, get a water, make a tea. You really appreciate how much 5 minutes, how much time 5 minutes is when you talk for 15 hours a week. When you're talking for 15 hours a week, you appreciate really how much time 5 minutes is. But we're going to just go straight through this time because we want to have uninterrupted, free-flowing, uninterrupted conversation. There'll be the news break, obviously. There'll be the news break, in the 8 o'clock hour. And in the 8 o'clock hour from 8 to 9, you get to call. And that's going to allow me to fit in as many calls as possible. As many calls as possible. Because we're going commercial free. The other thing I wanted to, and I got kind of carried away. The other thing I wanted to announce with our, a bit of a change in one of our special broadcasts. We had election coverage, you remember, on primary night. Chris and I were here on primary night. We did an election coverage. It was great. It was during our normal time slot from 7 to 10. We were here. We had Bill Strauss call in after he had declared victory. We had Chris Markey call in after his camp had secured their victory as well. But the problem was we couldn't get the results in on time for the sheriff's race. We couldn't call that race. We couldn't get the results in time for the DA's race. We couldn't call that race. And we heard from DA Quinn the next day, right? And we heard from Paul Heroux the next day after he won the Democratic primary for sheriff. But we couldn't hear from him that night. We couldn't get the live reactions, and we couldn't call the race. We were able to call 2 local races. It was called here first from our sources, inside the camps, inside the campaigns that we're running. And that was awesome. We were able to do that. We were really excited about that. But we knew we needed more time. So again, I asked him, Tim, asked Michael, Mark. Management had a conversation. We're going 5 hours on election night. 5 hours. We're going from 7 to midnight, Chris and I. We're going 7 to midnight on election night. Because at first we were saying, we're going to get an extra hour. We're going to get an extra hour. I talked to Michael the day after. I talked to Tim the day after. They both said, yeah, no problem. Next, on election day, you get an extra hour. And then I thought about it. And I said to Chris, really should have an extra 2. We really should have an extra 2 because if we have an extra 2, that'll ensure that we get the results in on time. Because some of those results are going to come in late, right? Especially if the sheriff's election's close, you never know. One of those statewide, the auditor's election might be close. Some of the state rep elections, you've got Jeff Swift and Bill Strauss. You've got Paul Schmid and Evan Gendro. If that, you never know. If those elections are close, we want to be able to call them for you. We want to be able to call those races. So we're going to be here on election night, Chris and I, 7 to 12. And again, I got the same thing. I got a warning like, hey, you're going to be on for a while, right? It's a long time. You got enough to talk about? I'm like, yeah, we got plenty to talk about. We're going to be able to call races. We're going to have candidates call in. We're going to have other people call in throughout that entire time. We've got so much time that we can book for the people that won, the people that lost, the people that, analyze the races. We got a lot of time for you guys to call in. We got a lot of time to get results. It's going to be great. So those are the 2 big announcements. Those are the two big announcements. On the sheriff's debate on October 19th, we're going commercial free. And election coverage November 8th, we're going to midnight. We're doing it. We're going to midnight. I might regret those decisions. I might end up regretting those decisions. But it's going to, I don't think so. I think it's going to be great. So I'm really excited about it. I hope you are too. Okay. 508-996-0500 is how you get in the program. I'm going to take a break.
Listen to us live.
Welcome back to South Coast Tonight. I'm Marcus. Chris will be back tomorrow. I'm here with you until 10 p.m. And I'll take your calls at 508-996-0500. That's how you can get on the program this evening. Also take your messages on the app chat as well. And so just trying to get on. Oh, never mind. I'll try to get on after the app chat. I'm not on it now. I forgot my laptop. Sorry. Anyway, 508-996-0500 is how you can get on the program this evening. I'll play this clip, actually, a conversation that the sheriff had back and forth. I thought it was pretty interesting because we were talking about the suicide that happened at Ash Street Jail, so.
They all bad? Do they all not have good policies and procedures?
Well, so let's actually talk about that, because one of the criticisms that was brought up by your opponent, Mayor Haru, was that they cited a 2018 report, and you've been quoted in the report, so I know that you're familiar with it, from the New England Center for Investigative Reporting.
Yep.
Yes. So what they were saying is, in a 12-year span from 2006 to 2018, the time of the reporting, that Bristol County was responsible for a quarter of all county jail suicides in the Commonwealth. They also, I think he also might have cited, or I might have read this elsewhere, there was an audit in 2019 that said that while there were a decrease in suicides in most county jails throughout the country, there was an increase in suicides in Bristol County jails. So I think one of the criticisms coming from your opponent and opponents of you in particular is that you're not doing enough for suicide prevention. They're citing hard data to back that up.
So what they need to do is tell me specifically what we're not doing that they would do. And they won't be able to tell you anything, because the guy who runs our medical operation at our place, he specializes in suicides. We're the only sheriff's office in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that has a behavioral unit to deal with people like this. And guess what? Middlesex had a guy they couldn't handle, and they tried, and they sent him to us. And you know what? He went through our behavioral unit, went right back to Middlesex, no more problems. So we're right on the cutting edge of this stuff. Every sheriff's office in the Commonwealth. Now, if you want to go by numbers,
yeah,
you can also do a comparative study of what the differences are in the populations in those counties and what the higher risks are for the kinds of populations you have. For example, the drug use in this area, right? And the problems that we have of people with mental health issues in this area will be different than some of these other counties. So unless you can tell me that and this is the problem with what these critics do, they don't know anything about it. They don't drill into it. These guys who are claiming we have more suicides, okay, that's great to say that. But now let me ask you a question. What exactly aren't we doing? Because we're constantly evaluating this stuff. we've been nationally accredited. They go through all our stuff. Are they all wrong? Are all these people wrong? And do you believe for 1 second, Marcus? I know I'm not saying you do, but I'm saying, does anybody really believe that for 25 years that all of a sudden we just ignore the suicides, that we're doing things wrong and just creating this environment so people can commit suicides and our people aren't doing the job, and it has something to do with us? Because you'd have to believe that all those professionals that do this for a living and do the accreditations from different parts of the country are all complicit in helping us keep an environment that helps people, promotes the idea that people could easily commit suicide, and we're not doing what we're supposed to do.
I suppose they could maybe argue that the standards should be higher, but then again, that wouldn't be your fault. So is the suggestion that Bristol County residents of Bristol County are at higher risk for suicide than residents of other counties in the Commonwealth?
Well, no, my point to you is that demographically, you have to look at the populations and look at the problems that the people have in those areas. And we have a serious problem with drugs and mental health problems. Everybody knows that in relation to, Springfield's got problems, but this area has traditionally, we're along Heroin Highway here, right?
Right.
So we have a lot of serious problems with this. And so when we do this, Marcus, look, if anybody that would believe that our people would ever want to just say, I don't care whether this guy dies or not, they're just saying it because they don't want to really know the truth. Our people, honestly, we take pride. And when I'll share, I can't share with you now, but I'll share with you the comments from the accreditation chairman that just came. And we have several where they would, independent, right? I came into the review. I wasn't there when they were doing the review or anything else. But at our closeout session, I couldn't believe how complimentary, and it wasn't just him, all the other inspectors or 4 inspectors, all absolutely commenting. Yeah, you guys.
I just thought that was an interesting exchange. I don't know. I thought the reasoning was interesting to the data. I had offered the data of the high suicide rates and his response. I just thought it was an interesting exchange. One of the highlights of the debate. I got to take a break. I'll be right back.
The New England Patriots are